y'all, welcome back to Krista's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making some Natchitoches meat pies. Now this is Natchitoches, not Natchez or Natchitoches or anything like that. It's Natchitoches, Natchitoches. But these are little fried meat pies that we're really famous for down in the South. And after stopping to get one this morning and they were all out, and decided I'm going to give it a shot and make some. So I know some of y'all have said before that you would like to see all the ingredients ahead of schedule, so that's what we've got here. I've just got some chopped celery, a medium yellow onion chopped up, a green bell pepper, a pound of ground beef, and a pound of ground pork. So this is our main filling options. We will add just a little bit of flour to the mix once it's cooked to kind of bring it all together. And our seasonings are just some Creole seasoning and some garlic powder. Now, to make our little dough that is going to go in, you can make your own pie dough, but I cheated and I'm just going to use some pie crust and cut those out. It makes a simple step, but we're going to move to the stove and get it going and let y'all see how we build these up. Okay, y'all, so we've got a little bit of olive oil heating up in the bottom of our pan, like always. We're going to toss in our veggies and get them cooking. So, like I said, we have one green bell pepper chopped up. We have a medium onion we've chopped up, and about 1 or 2 celery stalks. Now, I'm using some celery that I pre-chopped and put in the freezer, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it out. There's no exact measurements to it because no two sizes of vegetables are the same. We just want to really get some flavoring into this. And we're going to let those cook and soften through for about 5 or so minutes. Okay, y'all, so our veggies are getting nice and soft. We're going to add in about a tablespoon of garlic powder. If I can get it open. And about a tablespoon to start of Cajun seasoning. I'm going to dump in our meat. So there's our pound of pork. And our pound of ground beef. I'm going to chop this all around. And this is a leaner pork, so we may have to add a little bit more fat depending on how much fat our beef renders out, just so it doesn't stick and burn to the pan. Okay, y'all, so we're going to give this a taste and see if it's got plenty of seasoning in it. I'm going to kind of wipe that seasoning off in there. But just make sure it has plenty of seasoning. looks good. The meat and the veggies and everything kind of flavored each other, and it's perfect. So we're going to turn the heat off of this, and we're going to pull this off of the stove and let it cool while we cut out our pie crust shapes. So we'll meet y'all back over here, and I'll show y'all how we're going to do that. Okay, y'all, so we just have 2 non-stick mats here that, or silpats, whatever you want to call them, where we've placed out 2 of our pie crust. And I'm taking my son's little replay bowl. I love these things. They're made out of recycled materials, and they hold up really well. But this is going to be the perfect size for me to put on top of here. Now, if you don't have a little press like this, that's okay. I'll show y'all how to do it even without a press. It's very easy. But I'm hoping that we'll get about 4.5 out of each of these pie crust. So let's see. Just kind of press that down. So it's looking like we're going to get more like 3, maybe 4. And I have a lid that will work as well if this doesn't cut all the way through, because yeah, that's not cutting all the way through. It might. Let's see. But we're just pre-cutting some of these while our meat cools. And the idea is that we want a circle that we're going to fill the meat in the center and then close it and crimp it together. But like I said, if you don't have one of these, I'll show you how we're going to do it with just cutting the circle and a fork. So don't worry, you don't have to have a whole bunch of kitchen tools for this. So this wouldn't be Chris's kitchen if I didn't forget to show y'all something that we did. So after I said we were going to let our meat cool, I realized I hadn't added the flour to kind of bring all the juices and everything together. So I added about 1.5 tablespoons of flour just to collect all those juices and kind of pull it together. And now I'm going to take some of this meat and just blend it to puree it. I love that smooth consistency that you get in meat pies. So I'm just gonna spoon in a few spoonfuls and go through and puree our meat and veggies down. So it's a nice, almost like paste, but much smaller pieces in this. You're gonna get that smooth texture. Move this out of the way for a few minutes. Okay, y'all, so everything's all pureed. I'm just putting it back in the pan. Less dishes to mess up. And we're gonna bring our pie crust back over here and get to filling. Okay, so I'm gonna start with showing y'all how to fill them if you don't have this press. So you just take your dough, which the ones I rolled out by hand with my little rolling pin at first, they are like twice as thick. So these are gonna have to cook in a separate batch from the others. But taking about 1.5 ounce scoop, you can just use like a tablespoon. You might just need about 1 ounce because we don't want to overfill these. So put some down in the middle. I'm gonna turn it towards y'all. See, you're gonna fold it over and just press the edges sealed. I'm going to keep as much of that goodness in as you can. And then we're going to seal the edges with a fork. And this is if you don't have a press. If you have a press, then let the press do the work. Now this one, y'all can see we've got a little hole here I've got to take care of to make sure all the filling doesn't come flying out of there when we cook them. So we'll play with that one in a little bit. Again, these are the ones that we rolled out by hand. So we want to make sure that there are no holes in them before we fill it up. But we're going to lay it in here. Scoop in our filling. And this is why it's nice to have one of these little presses, because you just push it over, squeeze, and done. And this one didn't quite go to the edge, so let's move it up. Squeeze, and there you go. Make sure all of our edges are sealed, and that one's not, so we'll just push it sealed. And we're going to keep going. Okay, y'all, so we've got all of our pies made, and as you saw, just about everything is salvageable. Even when you have the little holes in the nicks, just work with it. Nothing's meant to be perfect, but just fold it over the edges where that had torn. I thought that because the dough was a lot larger, this was our end piece of dough, that I could get a lot more meat in it. I overfilled it, so that's why it burst. But we're going to bring our oil over, get it heating up, and show you how we fry these. Hey y'all, so our oil is heated up, and you can see that it says it's ready by the little green light. We've got it to 350. You could probably bake these as well, I'm not sure, but probably follow the pie dough directions and you should be fine. But down here in the South, we like to fry things, so we're going to fry them. I'm going to do just 2 at a time with these larger ones. Now these that we're starting with are the thicker ones that we had rolled out by hand. I'm going to drop them down. We want to cook them until they're just golden brown. I'm going to get these all going, and we'll let y'all see what it looks like whenever they're all done. Okay y'all, so I have a surprise jumbo meat pie. We had quite a bit of meat left over, and I may have to clean up a huge mess. But I decided to go ahead and take one pie shell and make almost like a calzone style meat pie. We're gonna toss it in and see how much of a disaster this is, but it'll be fun nonetheless. So let's see. There we go. Okay y'all, so it looks like my jumbo meat pie was a flop, which that's okay. It's just breaking apart. I think the center is too heavy for this dough to support, which is trial and error. That's the whole way I've learned how to cook anything that I have, is just trial and error. But it looks like the dough may have been too shortening based for even the smaller portions, because see, some of the bigger parts even broke apart. So maybe next time I will just go ahead and make my own. However, they still look and smell delicious. So we're going to taste test and see how they're working out. But don't be afraid to try something, even if it fails. There's nothing saying that it won't still taste good, or at least you gave it a good go. But if you notice, after I saw these splitting apart like this, I started to crimp the edges over to seal them even more. And some worked out. Now, I put the rest of them in the freezer so they'll harden up and we can try them again later. And maybe having them frozen will help altogether as well. But we're going to taste test and see how these turned out. So that is very soft and delicious. But the crust is a little bit too flaky to support this. It still tastes delicious. But I think that's probably why we're having some problems holding it all together. Overall, it's still a win for me. And I'm still excited that I didn't get to have my meat pie for this morning, but I do now. So maybe next time we'll try and make our own dough. But for now, we'll just munch on this and still call it a win. I'll see y'all next time, and thank y'all for hanging out with us today. Bye.